Hello there, you beautiful people. My name is Willow, and welcome to Sideways Land, because we're sideways and such. Thank you for joining me on this beautiful day where we're going to be casting a 2v2. Count them, there's 4 players, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're going to be beating the shit out of each other as is customary for Supreme Commander Forged Alliance, played on the Forged Alliance Forever servers. And today, we have a banger in store for you. We're going to have a long one. Strap up all your straps. Really quick, I would like to say thank you for all of the support, everybody. And also that we are coming up on the date. It's April 17th. It's the Landfest FAF section where we're going to be co-casting with the Duelist a Phantom for free-for-all kind of format thing. There's winners and losers and such, but it's really complicated, so I'm not going to explain it here. But yes, go check out the Duelist. He's a cool dude. And without further ado, let's go ahead and start by introducing our players with Team 1 up here in the top left and Team 2 down here in the bottom right. Starting with the Gray UEF player. He has been known to never win a Willow cast. He's always on the losing team. But we'll see if he can buck that trend today. It is the one, the only, the Gray UEF, known as Grimplex. Moving on and back to his ally. He is a Red Aeon, the best faction, sporting all of the curves and those fluorescent lamps for eyeballs. His name is Harzer 99. Then, down to the bottom side of the map with the orange Cybran. He is a chivalrous fellow, believing in honor and many other things, but he is going to be going by the name of Knightly. Then, last but not least for this game, we have a blue UEF. He is, of course, in many meals, and if I do say so, is a snack. His name is Citrus 984. And with that, we have all of the players introduced. Let's go ahead and talk about the map. You hold Control-Shift. That's how you pull up this stuff. I've been asked a couple of times now. And that shows you how much mass is on the map. There's 15,000 and some change. So there's a lot of mass to grab. It's fucking everywhere. So grab it. And yes, that's exactly what Knightly is planning to do as he moves forward to grab all of the juicy reclaim over here in the middle with that Cybran ACU. Very cool looking ACU. It is a little bit edgelord with all of the spikes and like the black and the, ooh, I'm edgy. But the Cybran ACU always looks cool. I think the worst looking ACU is the UEF one, and I think it's mainly because, like, I really don't like the gorilla forearms thing. It just looks weird to me. Ooga booga. We have a flare out from Harzer 99, going to be being quite annoying, is back here in the mass line of the player known as Knightly. And then we have a T1 bomber also out from Harzer 99, going to be focusing heavily on harass, along with a mech marine that has just been brutalized by a striker. Is this bomber, has it gotten a kill yet? It's gotten 1 kill. Is it going to get any more? There's a few engineers over here. Let's see if he goes for it. It does look like it is on a path. Is it? Where are you attacking? Well, I'm going to do this. Are they going to die? Are they going to die? Oh, they died. 3 dead engineers in a shallow grave, because the grave isn't even buried. They're just dead on the ground, bleeding out their oil and coolant and antifreeze all over the map. As Grimplex's and Harzer's comm meet up for the first time this match, it does look like Grimplex is a little bit more focused on getting reclaim, while as Harzer is a bit more focused on doing the blap thing as they just continue to shoot each other. 1 second, this deserves cinematic cam. I have the high ground, Anakin. You underestimate my power. Ah, so beautiful. Can we get like a cool shot? Oh, well, hopefully there's a cool shot in there. We'll maybe use that as the as the thumbnail as such. Got a get my thumbnail while I'm in the cast. Can't totally go back into the replay and do it later. That's too much work. Scouts fighting each other. Snoop versus Spirit. Snoop wins with 15 HP and almost going to vet. That's a bunch of Mantis pushing north. Going to be running into a PD built up by Grimplex. This PD should be able to protect the mexes, but the Engineer is at threat. Engineer going to be taking a few shots. The Mantis shooting, it dies. The next Mantis comes in, takes... nope. Engineer's gonna live. Gonna give me a bunch of anxiety, though, thinking it's gonna die. Both ACU mid. And yes, that is indeed true. Harzor99 has joined his UEF brethren, the Grimplex, in fighting along this side of the map. Ours are going to continue to push forward. Grimplex falling back with 6,500 HP and 5,000 HP left on Nightly as he falls back. There's a bunch of Mantis now coming in. They are meat for the meat grinder as these two comms can kill off many a Mantis before either of them die. And that is a skimmer sitting on the ground up there. I don't know why that bomber caught my attention, but it really, really did. Gonna move the mini-map a little bit. Probably gonna annoy people by moving the mini-map. But hey, if you're annoyed, then like and subscribe and comment. And comment about how you liked and subscribed and all the such. Remember to comment. Have I mentioned commenting? We're 7 minutes in. If you're still here, you obviously enjoy FAF enough to hit the subscribe button. It's not very difficult. Do it! I command thine. For every subscriber this video gets, Grimplex will say thank you. Gun speed on the way for Harzor99 as there's an engagement happening in the northern side of the map between some Mantis and Strikers. I think there's slightly more Strikers over here, but we'll have to see if the Mantis can manage to break through the defensive lines of the UEF. And it does not seem so. I think, yep, the Mantis are going to be cleaned up by the Strikers. Grimplex having just enough to hold here. Going to be able to walk away with 5 tanks to his name. Oh, wow. That Eruptor was really close to finishing. Unfortunately for the Eruptor, it did not get to finish. Grimplex, help your buddy. Do the assist thing, Grimplex. You have the power. Assist him. Come on, right click. Show Harzor some love. I know it's hard for. Yes. Oh well, that lasted all of like a millisecond. Oh wow. Wow. Okay. Well. Stealth on the way for Nightly and range on the way for Harzor. As we have some more engagements happening over here. It looks like a push out from Grimplex towards the first expansion area over here, held by Nightly. The teams rather symmetrically deciding to expand. We have Nightly deciding to head north and Grimplex deciding to head north, so both front players heading north, while as the rear guard players, the players that you could argue are kind of like more protected, are going to be heading to the south to fight it out. We have one of every important faction. The Seraphim did not show up. They got their invite, but they said the UEF can take my place, as we have 2 UEFs. These Strikers going to survive because the Mantis are too lazy. They're like, we're not paid to walk all the way to the corner. Oh, never mind. We just got the checks. Never mind. We'll do what you say. And those 3 Strikers are deadified. Down here we have a bit of an air engagement going on, which is interesting to say the least. It does look like Citrus is going to be ending up on the worse end of the trade. As reinforcing interceptors show up for Nightly, and that is going to be able to even up the numbers here a little bit, but Citrus's interceptor count has been cut down a significant portion. We have Nightly pushing forward with that stealth comm. I don't believe he managed to get gun. Maybe he did. He did get gun speed and range as well as stealth, so We have a large amount of pressure going to be able to be exerted by that Cybran Comm. He's now in another area with a decent amount of reclaim. We have 600-700 reclaim in the area. Could be scooping that up. 600-700 reclaim is valuable at this point in the game. Both teams had around 8.3 thousand reclaim at this given moment, so the reclaim numbers are very even. We have a run by it by Knightley, going to be getting bombed by Janus, and it looks like they'll get maybe a Mex, not even a pity Mex, because the Mantis didn't target the Mex down. But it did pull the army of Grimplex out of position. His army fell back, giving some more space for Knightley and that gun comm to continue to do very mean things. A lot of Mantis getting on top of the comm of Grimplex, putting him down to 8,000 HP. He was formerly almost up to 10,000 once again. As he falls into the 7,700 range, we see him fall back. The T2 air switch out from Grimplex has been a relatively decent affair. Janus, of course, I believe, are the best T2 fighter in the game. They are the best at actually shooting down other planes. They're just insanely expensive, so they just aren't efficient, but they are good. As we can see, the turning radius is the only kind of issue they have, but just overall, based off health and damage numbers against other air units, they are very good, and you can see that there as they clean up a decent number of the interceptors there. More interceptors engaging over here. It does look like there's more interceptors out from Team 2, and they're going to clean up all of this air that was built up by Grimplex, but he still has T2 air and is still able to produce Janus, and looks like there's no end in sight for the Janus production. Harzer 99 also spending a lot of time up here on the northern side, trying to focus on Knightley, not giving a lot of attention over to Citrus, which could be the right play or it could be a mistake, as Knightley, of course, being the higher rated player. We haven't really talked about the game balance so far. It's 83%, which isn't particularly balanced, but we do, of course, see that Knightley is an 1800, Grimplex and Harzer are both 1800 as well. Grimplex has been chasing 1800 for a nice while, so congratulations to him. And Citrus is the lowest rated player here at 1500 rating. Is not putting up a bad performance so far, though, is still in the game and is still, of course, fighting quite well. There has been a Tech 2 land upgrade for Harzer 99 as we see some blazes and some Ascendant flak show up to this most western flank, along with some asylums and even more blazes. Blazes, the fastest land unit in the game. Fun fact. And very, very quick boys is the entire point of that sentence. Few mechs is going to be going down in this southern side of the map, but overall it's just a matter of time before we see some T2 land units coming out from Team 2, and we have Mongoose being produced out from that factory for Citrus, as well as various T2 units now being produced for Knightley. A bunch of posturing happening over in this northern side of the map. Janus coming in, trying to drop some damage down onto that gun range and speed comm. There is speed and range comm with stealth. Very threatening situation for Team 1, but now that the comm of Harzer has shown up, we have T2 air out from Grimplex and a decent land army out from Grimplex. This is a hard position for Knightley to hold. Knightley going to be pushing over towards Harzer 99, but Harzer has the gun speed and range upgrade, is going to be able to chew through these Mantis that are trying to help the comm of Knightley, and we're going to see these Janus constantly dropping fire bombs with Shift G, it would look like, and you can just see the absolute forest of fire. It's not a forest fire, it's a forest of fire in this case, that's going to be burning away those Cybran T1 units. On the southern flank, we can see a relatively strong army now out for Harzer 99 is going to be putting a lot of pressure over onto Citrus. Citrus might need to bring his comm out over here to try and cope with this. I don't even know where his comm currently is. It's moving up north towards the situation with Knightley, which of course there are 2 comms up here for Team 1, but Team 2 is now trying to rectify that situation. Grimplex's comm moved rather far back though, as Janus continue to rain down fire from the skies. We can see, wow, the air bangers doing their job. They're banging the, or no, they're just bangers, not air bangers. Sky Slammer and air banger apparently is what I'm thinking. The banger T2 mobile artillery, flak artillery. Wow, that's a fucking mouthful, isn't it? Or shooting up into the sky to cause damage to the air units. Run by now attempted by Harzer 99. There's 4 asylums and 4 blazes. A weirdly symmetrical unit composition for this raid. The asylums now all turned off as there is a power stall for Harzer. Oof, unfortunate. Those asylums could have tanked a lot of damage, but these blazes are going to pull some units out of position. We do have a bunch of Janus now trying to firebomb power out from Knightley. Is that going to cause Knightley to power stall? I do not know. Yes, Knightley is now in a horrible power stall against his opponents. That is going to be very, very unfortunate for him as he continues to push forward with the comm, trying to get rid of this massive army brought out by Grimplex to try and stop Knightley's expansion to the north and just destroying all of these mass extractors and the such. A whole bunch of T2 Stinger gunships now out over here for Harzer. Where's the air? Where's the defense? We see the interceptors for... Oh my gosh, there's interceptors right here. Are these going to be enough? These Stinger gunships are constantly pouring damage into that red ACU. We can see the health going down 2,000. Oh, is it going to be enough? Are they going to be able to take down these Stingers in time? A Stinger's about to fall. Ooh, is that Stinger down? 1 Stinger down. We're down to 4 Stingers left. And the comm goes down. And with that, it's gone from a 2v2 to a 2v1. But over here, Knightley is in a horrible position. There's pillar tanks mixed in over here. T2 tanks. This is a super deadly. We might see a double ejection, but 1 for each team going down as Knightley starts to fall down to 2,200. He's 1,900. He's slowly falling down on hit points, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Does he have any Janus to come by and try and do a snipe attempt with? No, not quite. Still some damage being thrown into the comm, but not quite enough to kill it off. That comm very low on health though, and we could see an attempted reverse snipe or counter snipe. Snipe the sniper, I guess. Even though he didn't do the snipe, it was of course Citrus who did the original snipe. And kudos to Citrus being able to take down Harzer 99. It was, of course, a full share game. So everything Harzer owned was transferred over to Grimplex. He's currently working on getting T3 Aeon land, which is quite possibly a good idea. I don't know if he prefers Aeon land at T3 or if he is just going for it because he has a bunch of build power around it. More Janus being produced. The comm of Knightley still quite far forward for being on such low health, only at around 4,000 health. That of course will climb with time. 107 kills and very close to 4 veterancy on that Cybran commander. So that could be... maybe he's trying to bait a little bit of an attack so he can get that 4th veterancy and be like, ha! Surprise! I have a lot more health and health regeneration. A not insignificant amount of T2 mixed in with this giant army moving to the northwest for Citrus. There is, of course, a pure T2 army in defense over here out from Grimplex. all of those Aeon units trying to hold the line for Grimplex as of the moment. Of course, with full share, you always have to talk about how all of the economy from both players that was built up is now being controlled by one player, and that is a consolidation of mass. It does allow you to do things that maybe would have required too much coordination beforehand. So now you can just stop production on a larger scale and build experimentals or the such very, very quickly. And you can, of course, also just go and tech up faster. You have that extra economy. But there's a lot more to manage. Of course, 1,800 rated players can manage it. Nightly moving up with the comm has managed to get that 4th rank of veterancy and is up to 11,000 health and rising quickly with that 39 health regeneration per second, apparently. And that's a lot of Corsairs now dropping bombs onto this T2 army that was trying to push forward earlier. We have T3 land now built up for Grimplex. But down to the south, this army I was talking about, the one with a not insignificant amount of T2, is pushing up from the south. It's managed to loop its way all the way around out wide to try and get to these T2 mexes that were built up over here. We have 2 Eruptor defense, point defense built up. I do not know if they will be enough to really hold anything here, but they will at the very least cause some casualties on the attack as more PD is being built up by Grimplex. Maybe needs to get this army to move down to the southwest to try and defend this. A large T2 army now built up over on this eastern flank for Grimplex. Going to be able to enforce a lot of control as long as he can keep the skies clear. That's a ton of Janus, though. How many Janus is it? It's 18 Janus, and the comm of Nightly is right here. 18 Janus, probably not enough to do a one-pass snipe, but is enough to do a ton of damage. Using the Janus even as interceptors and fighters. They, of course, are fighter bombers. And the Janus are going to be turning around now as Nightly comes in with a ton of interceptors to try and clean up this Janus presence. The interceptors are going to be shot down at a large rate, but I don't think there's enough Janus here to actually cause massive issue for the interceptor ball out from Nightly, who has air control at this given point. There is a ton of interceptors still being built by Grimplex. It's just not being used at the same way as his compatriot on the other side, his peer. There is a ton of fighting going on down here. It does look like Grimplex is going to be able to get a tumultuous hold on the area, though. I do believe the T2 mexes did go down, which is very unfortunate. Only 2 of them managed to survive the encounter, but as Harbingers show up, this flank is going to be a little bit harder to attack. Corsairs coming in once again. We have some Asylum shields and some flak, so they will eventually die, but they come in and kill off the mass extractors, hurting Grimplex's economy that little bit more. And as we look at the economies of these teams, we can see a much larger amount of reclaim coming out from Team 2, which is unfortunate for Grimplex. And we see Citrus sitting at 137 mass a second and 50 mass a second for Nightly. Nightly definitely very low on the economic side of the game right now. A Strat Bomber coming in for Citrus, going to be going after Mass Extractors. T2 Mass Extractor going to be going down. And another Mass Extractor with full adjacency going down to that Strat Bomber. Is this going to be able to be dealt with in time? We have T3 Air finished for Grimplex, but is he going to be able to get up an Interceptor in time? He does, or an ASF in time. He does have an ASF out, but Citrus is continuing to do his bombing campaign with that Ambassador, currently at 1 vet and 2.7 thousand mass killed, as Interceptors try and hunt down the Bomber. Ooh, is that gonna power stall Grimplex? No, he is doing fine on the power front. We do have I think a T3 power generator somewhere. I'm not quite sure where that would be though. And the bomber is going to die after killing off about 5,000 or 4,500 mass worth of stuff. Wait, no, it may get another drop off. It's constantly, oh, it gets another drop off, and it's going to kill off yet another mass extractor, and that's going to hurt Grimplex massively as Knightley pushes forward towards the T2 army by himself with his comm. That's not the best move, I wouldn't assume. But so much for Grimplex to manage right now. He's currently under so much pressure out from this air presence out from Citrus and Knightley, proving to pay dividends. ASF now being produced by Grimplex. He has a lot of assistance on that factory. He may be able to get up just enough to make the difference as the interceptor ball is slowly just falling apart, and there's not enough. There's still a ton of Corsairs though. Needs to keep the comm relatively safe. He's having a power stall as of the moment though. Trying to build those ASFs is extremely expensive. He's going to be building up a power generator. Is this power generator going to stop? Yep, that power generator is too close to that mass extractor. Oh well. Knightley on the eastern flank, continuing to apply pressure towards Grimplex. On the southwestern flank, though, we can see that Grimplex, with his heavy focus on building Harbingers over on this flank, he is going to be able to enforce a lot of control. I don't believe T3 land has been achieved quite yet. No, it hasn't by Citrus, but even if it were achieved right now, that's a lot of Harbingers to contend with. Let's go ahead and see what the intel side of things is looking like for each team, and also we can take a check at the interceptor numbers and ecos. We have 125 mass a second and 30,000 reclaim out of Grimplex alone, along with 6 interceptors, and we can see he hasn't really got all that much intel on his opponent, whereas the intel for Team 2 is quite good, and we're looking at 10 ASFs, so does have air control if an air fight breaks out and both players micro properly. Meanwhile, we have a large push of Harbingers and T2 units out from Grimplex over on the southern flank. It is going to be attacked by some Corsairs, which is unfortunate for Grimplex, but they're flying over a lot of flak and going to be taking a ton of damage. It does look like their first pass was a bit botched. Do we have ASFs or interceptors coming over to try and deal with this? No. The Corsairs do go down of their own volition to the flak. Meanwhile, a ton of Harbingers going to be pushing towards this base. There is, of course, PD trying to be built up by Citrus, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. The engineers building the first row of PD go down. The PD goes down itself as well. There's some triads built up on this side of the fight, but I don't know if they're going to be enough as Grimplex continues to push forward. Meanwhile, on the other side, we can see that Knightley is pushing forward as well, but there's an army here to stop this, and there is T3 UEF tech as well. There's a bunch of Percivals going to be coming out of that factory, I'm sure, any minute now. Overall, economically, though, we see that Citrus is actually ahead of Grimplex by himself. I think that's going to be changing here soon with all of the T2 mexes that are going to be dying to this army out from Grimplex, which is still kind of just unanswered. T3 land has been achieved, and Percivals are going to start coming out of this factory, but there's still a ton of Harbingers left over in this army. 7 Harbingers that's able to fight with a Percival or 2 quite well all on its own. Percivals now mix quite heavily in with this army. There's already about 6 or 7 Percivals in this army, which is not an insignificant amount when we're talking about the minimalistic defenses and army count of Knightley. Knightley going to be pushing back towards this army. I don't know if he exactly knows if there's Percivals in it. If he didn't before, he does now as the scout flies over. That is enough Percivals to be able to kill off this comm as long as the shields absorb the overcharges for them. And down in the south, it's same story. We can constantly just see this ever-present battle going on between the units out from Grimplex and the units out from Knightley and Citrus. Grimplex putting on a ton of pressure despite the situation, dropping off engineers to even try and grab some of this reclaim. 16,000 reclaim on the screen right now, and an air engagement looming as ASFs out from Grimplex come in to shoot down the gunships, but Citrus hasn't moved his ASFs. These ASFs get to get out scot-free without being punished for committing to kill off those gunships whatsoever. On the northern side of things, there's yet again, Grimplex is kind of winning on every front, just constantly throwing units at the issue, and they are doing a lot of work for him. This T3 land tech has been a godsend for his situation. He was pushed all the way back to mainly just these original 2 core bases and is now in a much better position, but there is a Medusa producing facility over here in the top right hand corner, a constant stream of those T1 mobile artillery are going to be able to come in here, but there is a Harbinger and a Percival to stop their campaigns, and they're never going to push through that, I do not believe. Harbingers and Percivals have, they can kill them without getting shot, so that's going to be unfortunate for those Medusa. But you have to do something, take some of the APM that your opponent is using against you and distract them, so they have to use it elsewhere. And a Percival goes down over on this flank for Citrus as there's a continued fight between these Aeon units out from Grimplex and the mix of Cybran and UEF tech out from Knightley and Citrus. One Percival doing the Lord's work, the Deus Volt work, walking over here, just cleaning up all of the mass extractors he can find. I'm surprised this area hasn't quite been raided as of yet. That's a lot of point defense being built up by that one T2 engineer. He has a lot of work to do. Now then, Grimplex's economy has managed to get quite a lot better with this constant reclaim, and looking at the overall reclaim numbers, he's starting to rake in enough reclaim to catch up with Team 2's overwhelming lead they had a little bit earlier. And he's getting a lot of it. All of these engineers just constantly out reclaiming. You can see his half the map. Almost all of the reclaim has already been scooped up at this point. Wow, that is one hell of a position to build your T3 mexes. I mean, it's very secure from everything but the air. But one drop of a Harbinger and it is completely dead. This continued push on the eastern flank out from Grimplex looks like it's threatening to take out these 4 mexes out from Harzer, but none of these mexes are teched up, so it's not going to be a major issue for Harzer if they go down. I'm going to go ahead and speed up the game a little bit as these players continue to fight it out. Knightley in a tough position, actually. Let's slow it right back on down as Percivals are starting to get in range. Knightley going to be taking a lot of damage. 7,000 HP, 5,000 HP, and falling. Wow, that is a ton of damage being poured into that comm. Another Percival shot, another one. 1,200 HP. Oh, and he dies. The Percivals kill off Knightley. Oh my word, Knightley is completely taken out of the game. The orange Cybran's base will be handed over to the blue UEF. Citrus is going to hold on to all of his teammates' base, but is it enough? Let's look at the economies. We can see Grimplex at 184 mass a second versus 284 mass a second for Citrus. Citrus currently in a commanding lead, but these units out from Grimplex are going to continue to push into the base, going to be killing off mass extractors and power generators. They're going to survive as long as they humanly can. Against all odds, it does look like Grimplex is managing to grab control of this match, despite losing Harzer very early on to that snipe out from Citrus. Now Citrus starting to take some damage. A T3 mech's possibly under threat. It does look like this is going to be cleaned up before anything of that nature happens. But now it's a 1v1 and it's an 1800 versus a 1500. There's a lot to manage and a lot to do in this situation. And we'll have to see how these players are going to get on with it. We do see a strategic missile defense, a nuke eliminator out from Citrus, going to be able to get himself defended against the possibility of nukes. We're not seeing anything of the sort out from Grimplex, though. Grimplex just saying, you won't nuke me. You wouldn't nuke a Grimplex, would you? More Harbingers continue to push forward, but this time there are bricks and Percivals to stop the Harbingers, and while Harbingers are good, and I love me a good Harbinger, they don't stack up particularly well against bricks and Percivals. Those are the kind of the kings of the T3 assault units. This brick and these two Percivals are going to be trying to hold out against improbable odds, but it does look like they're going to manage it, as I guess there isn't as many T3 units here as I was originally thinking there were. A band of 6 Percivals over here, a rifleman squad going to be pushing forward out for Citrus. Going to speed up the game a little bit until we have something exceptionally interesting or another big fight happen. These Percivals going to be gunned down by the Triad firing line, but does look like they're going to be able to kill off a few of the Triads before they manage to die. And that is going to result in a bunch of dead Percivals, but all of this is just reclaim for Grimplex to hoover up. And as we look at the reclaim on the map, nearly 60,000 reclaim to grab, a ton of it over here for Citrus, but we don't see any engineers quite out over on this flank reclaiming. We see a bunch on this western flank, but I don't think he's realized just how much is kind of just in his base as he starts a megalith to try and come up with a solution to kill Grimplex. He is resorting to the Crab, the giant land battleship with legs. Beautiful piece of technology that is. There's a bunch of units over here on the northern side of the map, but I don't think it's going to get anywhere. I don't think there's quite enough to push through and kill off this HQ or do anything meaningful against Grimplex's situation on this flank, but there is enough to defend to kill off all of this and possibly create an opening to attack Citrus. Grimplex on this flank, though, going to be getting attacked again, but moves the Harbingers forward and swarms the Percivals with a ton of Harbingers. He's going to be able to kill off a lot of Percivals there and might even grab a bit of an advantage on this flank. He will have the overwhelming numbers needed for Harbingers to beat Percivals. And it's just a question of how much of these T3 land units can be produced by each player and how well can they command them on the field. Grimplex's comm sitting back here still without a single upgrade. He is a naked UEF comm here at the 37-minute mark. And wow, this air engagement is going exceptionally poorly for Citrus. Citrus apparently trying to get aggressive with his Air Force and losing badly, down to 7 ASF versus the 57 ASF of Grimplex. He does not have air control. Time to start building SAMs, because at this point you're one strat snipe away from being dead. Wow, there has been very little typing this game. We continue to see this posturing, but it looks like we might have something that can stop the posturing here. We see Sprite Strikers start to be built by Grimplex. If he gets enough of these, it will turn into a situation of Citrus kind of needs to attack the army. He can't sit back. He needs to find a way to deal with these snipers because they have enough protection. Usually when you see snipers, you can run into an issue where there's not enough units to keep the snipers alive, but here we have a ton of Percivals, we have Asylum shield generators, a decent amount of T2, we have a lot of things that you can put in between your snipers and your opponent. We see T1 bombers coming out to try and deal with this, but there's flak. T1 bombers aren't going to do anything. You need to come up with a solution and come up with it fast. On the southern side of things, we can see a large push yet again out of Citrus. He's done this a few times, but to no real effect. Getting out a large push on this flank has only served to give more reclaim over to Grimplex, who's currently over 100,000 reclaim by himself. And that is crazy. An experimental unit has finished that will be the Megalith over on the eastern flank, and that is an answer to the sniper bot problem. The sniper bots are faster, but you can just constantly push forward with the Megalith, and until the Percivals can get in range, that is a dangerous thing. And if the Percivals get in range, the Megalith might be just enough for this army to win and gain a significant advantage over on the northern side of the map. Ras on the way for Citrus. Do we have anything spicy? We have a GC on the way for Grimplex now. The GC, of course, able to beat a Megalith if the Megalith is unmicroed, I believe, but that might also be wrong. I don't quite remember. I do have a wonderful member of my Discord named Aaron who has also beautifully created a spreadsheet that I haven't looked at in a little while that explains how the experimentals stack up against each other when microed versus unmicroed. And we can see, wow, Percival's dying in droves over here. That's the wrong button. As this Megalith continues to fire, already almost to its first rank of veterancy after just killing off this absolute death field. 7,000 reclaim worth of stuff just absolutely destroyed right there by this Megalith. And the Megalith continues to chase down and deal damage to those Percivals. Forgot the name of Percivals for a second, you know, just as you do. A strat snipe attempted over onto Grimplex, but Grimplex has air control and is going to be able to get underneath more shield coverage. Just in a few seconds, more shields are coming up. Grimplex needs to dodge these bombs, though. This is critical for his continued involvement in this game, and down to 3,000 HP as all of the strats are cleaned up, and that strat snipe's not going to work. Grimplex currently sitting at over 100 ASFs. I don't even know how the strats managed to get in. They were Cybern strats, so they did have stealth and all, but still, that is going to be like 24 ASFs versus over 104. At this point, you should have air supremacy. You could even look into building something like a Tsar if you really felt like it. As we look at the economies, Grimplex sitting at 423 mass a second versus 462 for Citrus. These players have reached the late game, as it were. A ton of T1 bombers now flying out of the factories for Citrus, but they are going to be shot down immediately by the giant ASF horde that Grimplex has. Grimplex now has these broadsword gunships and Ambassador T3 strats going to be dropping bombs down onto this T3 army out from Citrus that was going to be pushing forward, but now looks like it's just going to be dying a painful death. On the top side of the map, the GC is of course finished. Are we going to see another one queued up? Not quite, but the GC is finished. The Megalith is still pushing forward. It is currently at 1 veterancy, so that is going to be a massive advantage for the Megalith. But if the Megalith and GC just fight it out and all of these units out from Citrus continue to fall back, then That's going to just be massively unfortunate, because at this point, the army pushing with the GC is going to be a significant factor. In the southern side of the map, though, we see the large air engagement still going the way of Grimplex. He can throw away so many ASFs to these SAM turrets and still be in a exceptionally commanding position as his Air Force continues to mow down this T3 army. And with enough damage dealt to the Percival Ball, the Harbingers come in to start dealing massive damage on to the army, and it's just going to be horrible. Meanwhile, we have the GC and Megalith fighting it out. Let's see who's going to be able to survive this one. If either of the experimentals survive, I would be a little bit in awe. Right now, what the experimentals are going to decide is which of the T3 land armies survive, and the GC and Megalith go down nearly at the same time, but the Megalith does fall first. And now the army from Citrus is probably going to have to fall back. I don't know if they managed to do enough damage to this massive T3 army out from Grimplex, and it's just obvious at this point that the sniper bots were just too much. Each of these sniper bots doing so much damage with each volley and going to be causing tons of issues for Citrus. As the T3 air out from Grimplex has started to show up and just kill off any T3 land on the ground. There's nothing for the... There's nothing here for he's losing on all fronts for Citrus, and it's just very unfortunate. But we do see a nuke starting for Citrus. Have we gotten an anti-nuke yet? For Grimplex, we have not. So I think the game kind of rides on him surviving long enough for that nuke to cause a significant issue. But Citrus is mass stalling quite hard. That nuke is far off if this is the continued trajectory of the game. We see a bunch of bouncer anti-air out here trying to solve the issue of this T3 air conundrum, but I don't know if it's enough to stop this absolute ball of broadswords and the occasional ambassador. I don't even know how many. You have 80 ASFs, 14 broadswords, and 3 ambassadors. That is a lot of air units to contend with. The nuke launcher has completed and is working on its first missile. Does Grimplex know about it? He does. He does know about it. I would say that it is time to start building the anti-nuke. There's no reason not to. If you've scouted it, yep, he's building the anti-nuke right now. You build that anti-nuke, you just cover all of your bases. Don't give him that 1 in a million nuke that saves this game for Team 2. Team 2 is in a dire position as we approach the 50-minute mark. Gonna have to see if they can find a way to claw their way back into this. Economically, he can still compete, but it's just the number of units on screen. There's just not enough of any type of unit for him to continue to hold on to this game at this moment. Both the northern and western side of his base under siege, and it is not going to be let up by Grimplex for any reason. An air fight breaks out. Let's slow it down to check it out. The turns looking decent for both players. Both players getting decent turns on their opponent. Grimplex starting to lose a lot of ASFs very quickly. But did he have enough of an advantage to start off with to win out on this air fight? I'm not sure. The SAM's providing considerable difference to how this air fight's going to go. That's a ton of strat bombers flying right past the ASFs. The ASFs are going to have to turn off to go ahead and chase the strat bombers. The strat bombers going straight for the comm or the nuke launcher. I'm not sure. They're not going to get very much done, but the T3 army that's been looming on the north side of the base for this entire time is just coming in, and all of these sniper bots still causing issue. Apparently the ambassador strat bombs managed to get in. The nuke is dead, and so is Citrus. These Percivals almost assuredly will end the game, right? I believe that's that. I believe it's done. Yep, even Citrus agrees. Thank you all for watching. You have been beautiful. like if you liked it, dislike if you didn't, subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you to my patrons, Timothy Caldwood, Sergeant Syphilis, and Nogthar. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.